what is your initial reaction to like the existence of quote unquote the Manosphere?
I mean, it's no different than snake oil salesmen. They're trying to sell people with insecurities. Like this is whether it's a product or a lifestyle, but they're making money somehow, whether it's their social media engagement or they're actually selling like a physical thing, whether it's a stupid ass supplement that gives you really expensive urine or it's
Scared rabbit, they've got you boxed in. Old habit, you draw the curtain. Lonely only if they ever leave.
Hello, my name is Michael Zarick, and this is Third Space Indy. In 1989, a man named Ray Oldenburg wrote a book called The Great Good Place. And in this book, he coined the term the third place. This describes a place outside of your work and outside of your home that you can go, be with others, build community, and form relationships with others. It's different every time. So I've made it my goal to find people all over Indianapolis who are doing their very best to build these types of spaces in a variety of ways. So that brings me to my guest today, Dominic Senibaldi, the owner of Cathead Press, and as I just learned, Love Handle down on Mass Ave, which is a breakfast restaurant?
breakfast brunch.
Breakfast brunch?
Yeah.
Okay. I still haven't been, but I really want to. How you doing?
Good. Yeah.
Amazing.
Hanging in there.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me in. I rode my bike here. I am coming down off the sweatiness. Luckily, there is like AC in here, so I'm like.
I always crank it. So.
So for those who don't know, can you share a little bit about yourself, however you view yourself?
Sure.
Cathead Press and maybe Love Handle.
Yeah. Well, one, I suppose I'm a Hoosier transplant, so I wasn't born and raised here. I moved here from Washington State, which is where I grew up.
What town?
Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
So eastern side. But I spent time in Seattle, Bellingham, Aberdeen. That's where I met my wife, was in Aberdeen. We were going to college there. Then moved to Chicago in 2009. And that was all as I was doing art school. So I moved to Chicago to finish up my undergrad. And then I moved down here for graduate school. So I graduated from Herron with my master's in 2013. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really think I was going to stay in Indiana.
You'd be, well, maybe you wouldn't be surprised how many people say that, but like I think that is a common sentiment.
Yeah, and it was weird because, I mean, I was basically, it was kind of the stopover while I was getting my master's, and I'm like, I'm going to apply to teaching jobs in Washington and back on the West Coast, mm-hmm. But that just didn't really pan out very well. And so my wife and I, we just like, I was so focused on school, and I had, my homies and my crew like in school, but mm-hmm. Once I was out of school, started, get involved in the community and just like hanging out and started to be like, I don't know, this is a pretty cool place. And it's like, what else is there? It's like home is where your hat is, I guess, sort of thing. So anyway, and then once I decided to open Cathead, which was like 2015-ish, when I sort of got the idea to do Cathead Press, that's when I knew we were going to stay here. Mm-hmm. So for the immediate future anyway.
Did you study graphic design in school?
I studied printmaking in school. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. So I got my master's in printmaking. I mean, I've done like painting and sculpture and all sorts of stuff, but yeah, predominantly printmaking. So
yeah.
But yeah, just started Cathead Press, and I officially opened in 2016, so it'll be 10 years.
That's pretty cool.
Of Cathead Press this year. I don't know if I'm going to do anything. I did like a 1 year and a 2 year anniversary back in the day. And then after that, I was like, I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, it's the same old shit.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's kind of wild. So anyway, that's kind of like the short and sweet of the whole Cathead thing. But
so we didn't say it explicitly, but Cathead Press is a print. Would you call it a studio? Print studio?
Yeah, I'd say it's like a print shop. So I do a lot of commercial printing. That's sort of the bread and butter. That's how I pay the rent and the bills. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot of T-shirts. Everything's hand screen printed. T-shirts, tote bags. I do some runs of like works on paper. Usually that's more of like a commission type thing. So that's one aspect of it. And then I have sort of a public use studio. So I have a monthly membership that artists can pay to use screen printing equipment for all their endeavors or whatever. So, and then I have the Washington Street Shop that has a couple studios in it.
Got it. And then the logo of Cathead Press is a crazy looking alien cat.
Yeah.
Is that modeled off a creature?
No, it was
No?
So I mean, outside of a cat.
Well, I didn't know if you had like a family cat or like
No.
some alien that came to talk to you in your sleep or something. I don't
No,
know.
so we have a really old logo. So all the logo work was done by an artist named Rob Young. So he was
that name.
Yeah, he was a student of mine at Herron a long time ago, which is funny because we're like the same age. But he got a teaching gig, so he doesn't live in Indy anymore. But he still does a lot of like design work for me and stuff. But so he did our very first logo, and it was a cat with like a third eye kind of. And I don't know, we're just like, we're all sort of like, I don't know, weird sci-fi nerds and stuff. So, and then when I did kind of a little rebrand, I was like, hey, Rob, can you do this sort of rebrand? I was like, still want to stick with cats, obviously, but I was like, just give me a bunch of different options of weird looking cats, you know? So there's some with like wrestling masks, some with a third eye, some with like devil horns. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of.
So then you also are part owner of Love
Part
Handle?
owner. Yeah.
How did you come into wanting a breakfast brunch spot?
I mean, I've always been into food. I love to eat food. I love to make food. So, and I've worked in restaurants before in my younger days. But one of the owners, Chris, so Love Handle is also owned by Chris and Allie Benedict. So it's a triumvirate ownership now. But I've known Chris for ages. He's like one of my best friends. You know, I'm gonna go have beers with him after this, you know, and like grill out and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's raining now, so I don't know if we're gonna grill out, but anyway, so we've been hanging for a long time, and about, I don't know, 2 years ago, him and I were like thinking about maybe opening like a separate space or like a bar, like night spot restaurant, and that didn't really pan out just because of external factors. It's really hard to find a building that's affordable. It's hard to, you know, especially when you're trying to like grow something from the ground up without finding some investment bro to, you know, lend you $17,000 million. So that kind of fizzled out, and then we're like, well, let's just do what we wanted to do with this project, but at Love Handle. And so Chris was like, well, why don't we just come on as part owner, and then we'll just like take Love Handle to the sort of the next level of what it can be. And so that's just how that happened. And Chris and I I was helping out, you know, in the kitchen. I was helping him out with pop-up events. You know, we do Woodruff every year. We bring a smoker out and stuff like that. So I was always helping him with stuff like that just because we're homies. But it just sort of evolved into, why don't you be a part owner? I was like, okay,
Yeah.
why not? I'll just add another thing.
I was scrolling your Instagram, and there's like a couple of like grill out / food posts, and I was like, I kind of fuck with this guy.
Yeah.
I didn't draw the connection of Love Handle. I don't know how that didn't happen, but I like what you got going on over there.
Nice.
Easy transition since I'm surrounded by it. What is going on in here? Can you?
Yeah, this is one of what they're also not seeing is a whole nother wall over there, and tons of bins
big tubs
of VHSs. It kind of started like, I mean, I've always been I love film, I love movies, I love music. You know, I was a big, obviously, physical media person. You know, I'm an elder millennial, so I had VHSs, you know, up until my 20s.
You have attachment to ownership, just not by way of owning a home.
Yeah, exactly. So I started collecting. This is probably 3 years of collecting, so it's a relatively new. And obviously, it sucks because I'm like, I'll do some eBay buys every once in a while of stuff that's hard to find.
Yeah,
and it's always like, I owned this.
Well,
at one point,
I'm seeing these like the Rugrats Go to Paris.
Yeah,
like I definitely watched that movie like 10,000 times as a child.
yeah, everybody that comes into the space is like, oh, I remember that movie. Oh, I remember that movie.
And I see the old Dune. This one popped out at me. The old Dune movie.
Oh yeah,
Right there.
yeah, totally. That's a great one with Sting. But anyway, yeah. So it sort of just started to snowball. You know, I was finding a lot of them at thrift stores and stuff, and it just became, you know, I flit through hyperfixations quite regularly, and it just became the hyperfixation for a few years. And so I was just always, and I'll still, if I go to a Goodwill, I'll, you know, I have like duplicates and triplicates of tons of movies and stuff. If ever I see Jurassic Park at a thrift store, I'm like, well, I need to get the copy of that. So I have like maybe 17 copies of Jurassic Park on VHS. But
I see like 3 versions of Lord of the Rings right there.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I have a VHS player at home. So I mean, I watch these at home, and you know, we play VHSs at Love Handle too, and so I don't know. I just like the physical media thing.
Is there like how did you get drawn to this? Was it just like a sense of nostalgia, or?
Probably a little bit, yeah. Just, you know, I think one, yeah, it's definitely a sense of nostalgia, and I think two, just like actually wanting to own physical media again. You know, there's movies. I'll talk to people like, oh, I've been wanting to watch this one movie, but I can't like find it streaming anywhere. I'm like, well, I don't know. See if you can find it on DVD at Goodwill for like $3, and then you have it forever. You know, you're not sort of tied to whether or not Netflix wants to have something on, and then they decide to take it off. You know, so I think it was just part of that. You know, I sort of just like the physical media aspect of it.
Did you ever go to Blockbuster as a child?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, my wife and I were going to Blockbuster up until we got a Blockbuster membership when we first moved to Chicago, and that was 2009.
When did I guess Blockbuster closed finally around like 2012 or 13.
I think so, somewhere in there. But then we were just, I mean, we didn't have, we were dirt poor in Chicago. So we didn't even have internet. We had a crappy laptop it didn't even have a modem in it. We had an external one, and it was all broken. So I had this like wire that I taped to a window, and we stole Wi-Fi from the church next door. But like, so we didn't have streaming or anything. So we would just go to the library and check out DVDs and tapes and stuff. So
you can still do that, listeners.
Yeah, exactly.
There's like, I just have like this memory of, so we had like the first Xbox. I should say my older brother had the first Xbox. So that means I had it at the same time. And I just remember going to like Blockbuster once a week because my mom would go play volleyball and I'd stay home or whatever. And just getting like the worst video games possible.
Oh, yeah.
Like not worst as in like they were bad for me to play, but like worst as in like, why did I ever choose this?
Right. No, that was like when in my hometown in Spokane, we had a big video store called Hastings. And a lot of it was, you know, tape rentals and video game rentals and stuff. And then center was CDs for sale. And then it had a side that was all books for sale. But old releases were 49 cents to rent on VHS, but they had a whole video game section. And this is when I was a kid, so I was renting like Sega games and Super NES games and stuff. But I would do that all the time. I was like, I'm going to rent this 7-Up Spot game for Sega. And then I get it home, and I was like, oh, this really sucks.
I have a distinct memory, and it came across my feed recently, actually, of a Captain Crunch video game that came in the Captain Crunch box.
Oh, that's crazy.
Like they put CDs in the cereal.
That's wild.
Like it was a completely different world. And this Captain Crunch game is like, it was kind of like having a Tamagotchi.
Right.
Like you raised this like weird looking gremlin thing by feeding it Captain Crunch and like leveled up its abilities like agility and stamina.
Wow. That's good marketing, I suppose.
Like Captain Crunch will make you big and strong, but also look like a crazy little gremlin man.
That's funny.
So why did you choose to stay here? Other than, well, you mentioned that, you know, you've sort of found your group of friends or whatever, but is there something that goes beyond that that's like compelling or something about Indianapolis?
I mean, really, it was like the sense of community that we found here. I don't know what else the draw was, because there's obviously a lot of not good things about Indianapolis, but also like I think maybe part of it too is just growing older and maturing. Because while there's not good things about Indianapolis, there's also not good things about Seattle, Washington, or Portland, Oregon. Like it's America. Everything's crazy. So it does so I don't know. We just got to the point where we just kind of fell in love with our friends and the chosen family we made here. And I don't know, that was just kind of part of it.
Yeah. What's your neighborhood?
Brookside. I live 2 blocks that way.
Okay. Yo.
And then when we bought our house, my parents were like, well, you're never coming back to Washington, right? Because we just bought a house. And I said, well, why don't you guys move out here? So in 2017, I moved my parents here, and they just live over in Little Flower.
Oh, okay.
So I have my folks here, so that's cool.
Do you have a kid? Are you?
No,
okay.
no, we're intentionally child-free.
I only ask because I think, like when you talk about having your family nearby, raising a child, bearing a child becomes like a billion times easier because you just have like free childcare. Like,
right.
Part of the reason my wife and I, if this were ever to come to fruition, which we're not looking to do at this time, but if we were to ever have a child, like having her parents 20 minutes down the street and my mom two hours away in Louisville is like a completely excellent dynamic to have, where it's like you have a whole support system.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a village with everything. I mean, it's crazy too, because then when my sister was having her child, my niece, she ended up moving here.
No.
And so now my sister lives here too with my niece.
Yeah.
So
she's like, I gotta get in on this.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know, my whole family like relocated to Indiana. So it's kind of, but again, never in my wildest, when I was applying to grad schools, I barely knew any. I was like, where's Indianapolis? I had no concept, even though, I was just up in Chicago. It's like 3 hours away, but
Indianapolis is like one of the few cities I think just like makes sense. You're like, oh, what's the capital of Indiana? It's Indianapolis.
Right. Because that's not the case. With everyone thinks like, well, isn't Seattle the capital of Washington?
Yeah.
Because it's the biggest. And no, it's Olympia, Washington. It's a little dinky, tiny town. It's like as big as Bloomington.
Well, the same thing happens in like Kentucky. Like what's the capital of Kentucky? It's Jeffersonville. But the only reason it's that, is that right? Did I just make that up?
I don't know.
No, Jeffersonville's in it. It's Frankfurt. Oh no.
Okay.
Anyone who listens to this from Kentucky.
Hey, public school education.
It's the Kentucky education, really. It's Frankfurt, and Frankfurt is right in the middle of Louisville and Lexington, which is why they put it there.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
The two biggest.
That makes sense.
So you mentioned finding community here. I'm interested in talking about Cathead Press a little more. Like, what community within either printing or, I mean, you even talked about zines and like little small print newspapers and stuff. Like, what community have you found within the print realm?
I mean, at first, like when we first started open, obviously it was a lot of artists wanting to utilize printmaking for their own artwork. So that was a big part of it. So a lot of printmakers would come to, make their artwork and stuff like that. So, but that was also a lot of the same sort of community I had when I was in school, because it just was already built in, and there's a huge like art scene here. But now I think beyond that, it's a lot, because there's so many cool people doing cool creative stuff in Indianapolis right now. I think that's sort of the community that I feel the most part of now, is other artists or other creatives doing their own thing, and we're sort of all doing it together as one, and we all help each other. Like Alexa was way back in the day was a student of mine, but now she runs a ceramic studio, and we collaborate a lot and we help each other, whether it's, hey, do you know a good accountant? Like, so it's stuff like that. So helping like support each other, just with the idea of running a small business or an art space or something like that. And then obviously too, in the food scene, and this was even before I was officially part of Love Handle, but for some reason I just connected with a lot of people in the food industry as well. And then so that sort of morphed into a lot of the commercial work I do as far as screen printing is for other small businesses, whether they're restaurants or other art spaces or creatives running small shops or something like that. So I don't know if that answers your question. I feel like I'm rambling, but that's sort of I guess the community I feel the most part of now is just other creatives doing creative things. And if I can help them in any way, whether it's providing a space for an event or providing t-shirts for their business or printing something else for them or just...
Yeah, you're almost like a support guy. You're like,
yeah,
I'm here to lift you up or create, or what's the word?
Realize
support's the best word I got.
Yeah. And I think that comes too from my teaching experience as well. Because I obviously taught during grad school, but right after grad school, I stayed at Herron as a adjunct professor. And then in 2016 or 2017, I became the printmaking shop tech at Herron, which I was also teaching as well. So I was doing a lot of teaching. And so I think that's part of how I operate now as far as just trying to help people do stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever it is.
Do you do classes here?
Yeah, we run some pretty basic workshops. We sort of call them drinking inks because they're not really, I don't really do full instructional workshops. They're usually a great artist, local artist, Megan Kieran, teaches them for me. And they're sort of I call like low impact because you're not learning the whole process. You are learning about the process, but people come in, they design a t-shirt, they make a film on a piece of tracing paper. Megan shoots it on a screen and then they get to print their own t-shirts.
Okay.
And it's like BYOB, whether that's, sparkling water, whether it's beer or wine, and like people bring pizzas and rotisserie chickens and cut up cantaloupes and stuff. So it's kind of like more of a hangout.
Yeah.
But we do that for t-shirts and tote bags. And then in the past, I've done sort of more robust, like multi-day, like full screen printing workshops where they learn how to print works on paper and stuff. But I haven't done those for a while just because since I'm so small, it just became a little bit more arduous. One, wanting to pay an instructor appropriately, but then also, and that translates into having to charge a certain amount for the workshop. And that sort of became a barrier for a lot of people. And so I just wanted to do something that was a little bit more low stakes so that I could keep like the price point low. And then it wasn't so much work for like the instructor that's teaching them. So
yeah,
that's how that kind of evolved.
Yeah, interesting. Cool. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. I'm running a few now, I think through April. So
when you talk about the local like art community, and I'm sort of hyper fixating on zines right now because I think it's an interesting topic, especially when I see like fuck fascists and abolish ICE and an ACAB tattoo on your sticker. When you talk about like local printmaking and the sort of history of more radical print stuff, what do you see in terms of like that here in Indianapolis? Like the desire for more, what's the word? Either anarchist or like radical thinking in terms of print.
Yeah, I mean, I think printmaking has always been, has its roots in sort of political resistance. I mean, if you just go back to Damier making lithographs about, French Revolution or, Goya in the Spanish Civil War, they were all making prints about these atrocities, being committed and things like that. So I think printmaking has its roots in that sort of stuff. But I think one, there's a desire for people to have tactile, handmade, physical objects that they can hold. And And I think zines or just like small prints and stuff, it's a lo-fi way to get interesting information out there, make something creative. But I'm seeing a lot of that in Indianapolis. I mean, if you think about, is it Monkey Wrench that's going to be happening soon? And then Zine Fest was a thing for a long time. I don't know if you're familiar with Sly Badges. Yeah, but they do a lot of zine work and stuff like that. So I think there's a huge interest in it. I mean, I don't have the full sort of picture or history of what really a zine means or is. You know,
I think it's just short for magazine, and there's a small version of it. That's
right. And it's usually lo-fi and, you know, distributable and things like that. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a large interest in that. And I think, again, it stems from the desire for tactile, physical media as well as like political resistance, because it always seems like it's always about
I did see a zine on Instagram a day or two ago titled "I can't hold a job, but I can hold your hand."
Nice.
I was like, I did like that.
That's a good sentiment.
So I mentioned before we started recording that I was interested in talking to you about something called the Manosphere, and I'm interested to sort of delve into this concept. But before we do that, I need to tell the people listening what that is, because I target this sort of towards my mom. So the Manosphere is this online ecosystem of videos, of podcasts, of short form content on TikTok, all of this stuff that is driven by what would historically be known as toxic masculinity, but is also sort of tied into crypto, tied into gambling, tied into this sort of bro culture of doing a lot of exercise, grind culture, millionaire grind set of like, you know, becoming a multimillionaire, and then also based in misogyny of like, you know, how do you get women? How do you show women that you're worthy of their attention? That type of thing. And when I reached out on Instagram with the mindset of talking about this concept, someone mentioned me to you as someone who would have good thoughts on this. And we touched on it briefly before we started recording, but what is your initial reaction to like the existence of quote unquote the Manosphere?
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, there's like so much to unpack there.
I did say a lot of words.
Like, it's like, I mean, yeah. I mean, my initial thought is, you know, I guess if we just look at it from the idea of strictly social media personalities trying to sell these ideas to insecure men, like, I mean, it's no different than snake oil salesmen. They're trying to sell people with insecurities. Like, this is, whether it's a product or a lifestyle, but they're making money somehow, whether it's on, you know, social, like their social media engagement, or they're actually selling like a physical thing, whether it's a stupid ass supplement that gives you really expensive urine, or it's like, you know, some idea or a book or crypto or whatever. But yeah, it's just sort of like preying on these people's insecurities, and it's a grift. It's 100% a grift.
Yeah.
And it's nothing new. It just has new ways of getting to people. It's kind of wild.
What if you were to take it seriously, or at least a serious framing, where it's like this concept of like what it means to be a man, of like, oh, being a man means you go to the gym 5 days a week, you can bench 1.5 times your body weight, you can, you know, you have a 6-figure job and you drive a Bugatti, and you know, go through like a woman a week, whatever that means.
Right. I mean, again, it's like, it's so weird because it's all so based in consumption. Like the idea of what it is to be a man, whatever the hell that means, like those things you mentioned, it's all based on on consumption and capitalism and
Mm-hmm.
and how do we get these people to buy stuff, whether it's a gym membership or the car
Yeah.
or whatever, or work till you die for a company. You know, it's like, oh, you know, a real man works 80. I worked 80 hours this week. I'm like, yeah, dude, that's not a flex. Like, that sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. It's bonkers. I don't know. I think again, it's selling people stuff based on their insecurities, which is like it's what society's taught us, you know, or taught young men and boys.
Definitely. I think it's more, yeah, it's definitely like a ramping up of what I would think historically would be. Like, it's very much like Rambo style, like sweaty man. Also, like, there's a little undertone of like, I want to be like an oiled up buff dude. I want to hang out with
also
other
strange
oiled
to me.
up
Well, it's like this is really sort of distilling. This is a very distilled example, but it's like, I mean, I think I saw a meme or something, or maybe a someone in academia was like talking about this phenomenon. But it's like, let's just take Hugh Jackman. You see him on Men's Health with no shirt on, oily and shiny, flexing, but you see him on like a women's magazine in like a sweater vest, and he's all like, like
it's for the male gaze.
Yeah, so it's like that kind of shit is for men.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't know what that is. Such a strange phenomenon. I don't know, and I don't even know what that has to do with anything. But it's like it's very strange.
So let me ask you this question very simply, and then we can move on, because I don't even know how to talk about it. 'Cause this is like, I appreciate that you are taking it almost in a jokey way, where it's like, I also don't know how to talk about it because I don't think that way. Very simply, like, what does it mean to be a man to you?
That is an interesting question.
Yeah, it's probably hard to answer.
Yeah, it's hard to answer because, like, I'm not, you know, I guess I'm cis presenting. I'm married to a woman. I've also had relationships with men. I've also, you know, so like, I don't know, like, what that really means to, like, even ask myself, what does it to mean to be a man? Because is that a construct of society? I don't know. So, I mean, I guess I could tell you, like, what it means to me to be like a good person and be an understanding and an ally and be respectful towards everyone. I don't know, but it's hard for me to like articulate what it means to be a man. I don't know.
I think that's a great answer. Okay. I think you're like overthinking it. Like,
maybe I am overthinking.
I agree with you entirely.
Yeah,
where it's like,
yeah.
I also don't know how to answer it because I just think it's very simply just like, there is no answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
because the only people that could have an answer are people that may prescribe to these constructed ideas of masculinity or femininity or what it means to be those things in this world, in this country, like now. So I don't know. It's all fluid and changing, and I don't know. I just try to be a cool dude.
And if being a man means I have to go die in Iran, then I don't know if I want to be a
No, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Well, thank you for answering. Thank you for indulging me.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting question.
All right. We're going to move on to what I call the canned questions. Third Space Indy is sponsored by City Rising. City Rising is a social impact studio that leads and supports innovative projects that strengthen, celebrate, and repair people and places. Shout out to City Rising always. They have sponsored a question, which is, what is a third space to you?
A third space to me. I mean, I guess, well, when you first started, I think you hit the nail on the head. For me, it's a space that is neither home nor work. I also hope that third space is a space that is not necessarily monetized to exist there, like a library or a park that's hard to find these days. I mean, you get people with archaic attitudes. I'm not going to use the B word, which, you know, boomer.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think the idea of a boomer stretches beyond someone who is actually generationally a boomer. There's many people are in their 30s that have that same attitude. But anyway, I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, but you'll get somebody who says like, well, kids don't play outside anymore. I'm like, I don't know. Have you seen all the parking lots outside? Like, have you seen how like you can't even sit on a bench that doesn't have like spikes on it and stuff like that? So, or how there's no spaces that you can go into without spending money or having to pay money to be in that space. So I think that for me, that's hopefully what a third space can also be, is a place that's neither your home nor your work, but it's a space that's also not necessarily monetized, that you can just exist in and spend time in and be with other people and have a sense of community. That's not to say like you can do that in a coffee shop and I hope you buy a cup of coffee from the person running the coffee shop, because that's also that's money going into the community if it's, you know, a privately owned small business or something like that. So I guess, not trying to backpedal on my explanation, but I think it's slightly more complex than what I'm saying as far as the monetization of space. But I think that can be a barrier sometimes.
Yeah. Last week we used the phrasing, a third space is a place where this has been refined and refined over time. So a third place is a place where your relationships are not based on transaction.
That's kind of what I'm saying, I guess.
Sorry, I was just. It's just a very similar answer.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
Are there places here in Indianapolis that have manifested in that way for you?
I mean, I think a lot. Again, these are most of the people I know and spend time with. They also are small business owners, so it is based in a business. But I feel like, you know, I go to Rabble almost every single morning. I don't really make coffee at home, so I go get my latte for Mitchell or C over at Rabble, and you know, I'll get my cup of coffee and that's done. But then I hang out and, you know, like just hang out and talk, you know, you know, and like I'll be out back and Mitchell will come out and we'll like have another chat. So yeah, I don't know. So that's an example for me.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other spaces like that, I think, in Indy. I mean, if I wanted to, I could text Alexa and be like, hey, can I come by the studio and chat for a few, you know? And it's same with people can hit me up and come talk, you know, if they want to in my space. So it's different for everybody, I think. But yeah, I think there's a lot of places like that here.
I think that when you, I try to get it like, obviously this is your place of work, and I try to be pretty strict on it, but it becomes like when you are like Alexa and when you're like yourself, where you're probably here between 60 and 80 hours every week, here or Love Handle, like it blurs the lines a little bit. But when you pull in other people to your space where this is not their place of work, it sort of morphs in a way. And when
100%.
you talk about spaces that don't exist anymore, or are few and far between, like you kind of have to find it where you can.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of goes back to what we were talking about, how so many spaces are now monetized in that way where it is hard to find those spaces. So we just have to make them where we can.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you used to be able to go into the IMA like grounds for free, and I haven't been there in ages, but I feel like you can't get into the grounds in the same way that you used to be able to.
When you say grounds, you mean like the mansion area?
Yeah, or like the park area, like the 100 acres.
You can get in the 100 acres for free.
Okay.
For sure. And I think first Fridays they open up the outdoor area for free.
Gotcha.
I can't say that for certain.
Remember there was something with one of the greenways that you couldn't like access it through the greenway, and I don't know. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's wild.
So follow up to that question. What is a third space or place that has existed for you previously that no longer does?
At like any point in history.
Yeah, physically, metaphorically, whatever that means to you.
I think. Wow, that's a cool question. So, without getting too convoluted of a story, but when I was growing up, I played a lot of music. I was in a lot of bands, from like age 16 to like 19. And my hometown had a very cool music scene. And this is, late 90s, early 2000s. And we played so many spaces in that town. There were so many little tiny coffee shops or like back rooms of bookstores, back rooms of piercing studios that we would play these like shows in. And they were always, I was playing like Andrew WK style, like crazy, like rock.
Yeah. My brother was in a
music.
math rock band. So.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. That's funny because the main band I was in for a while, our name was Rocktagon. But anyway, so, and yeah, we were just like, I'd be in 3 bands and I'd play in all 3 bands at one show, but we were playing shows 2 to 3 times a week, and there was just so many spaces that was happening. And I know there's a lot of spaces in Indy too, that shows are happening, but this is just my own personal feelings because that's like from my own time.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm always kind of like nostalgic for, like miss a little bit, was just all these like cool little funky spaces. We played a Food Not Bombs show when I was 18 or something, and it was literally in this weird back room of a bookstore where the floors were almost like falling in, and it was maybe like as big as this area we're sitting in. There was like 50 kids in there like moshing and stuff. It was like bonkers. But I don't know, I just feel like I don't see that a lot anymore.
Yeah.
So
we've had this discussion before. I wonder if you don't see it because you're like out of the age range.
or probably, yeah.
or
that's probably a big part of it.
Just like doesn't exist. It's hard to know.
I'm like, I gotta be into bed by 8, so I'm like, I can't go to shows anymore.
When you were doing that performing, was it always with the same people performing? Did you get like repeat viewers?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, we had some of our like number 1 fans that were always at the shows and stuff. And then a lot of the bands I played in, it'd be like, I'd play drums in 3 different bands, and the guitar player for one band that I was in would be the bass player for another band that I was in. So it was all this kind of just sharing people, in all these different groups and stuff. It's kind of wild.
Did you ever watch the show Dazed and Confused?
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it in ages, but
there's like that sort of early to mid 90s nostalgia in that show that I'm like picturing for you.
Gotcha.
It's like a little
It was a beautiful time. We were blissfully unaware of everything going on in the world, even post 9/11.
Well,
but like it was a beautiful time to grow up in. For me anyways, in my kind of
there's like a
suburbia land.
If you even think about like how there is definitely a blissful ignorance that comes like pre 2007 internet, 2008.
Yeah.
Where it's like you don't know anything and the world seems so hopeful and like
yeah, they're like, just vote. That's how you'll change. You'll be running the. Don't worry, your generation will be running the country soon. Like,
we're all gonna retire.
Right, so, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's wild to think about that.
Okay, so every episode, I ask a question from the previous guest. Sneak peek for you.
Okay.
The previous guest is Keith Hutchison, who's one of the organizers for Bike Party.
Oh, cool.
Or technically not an organizer, just a consultant at this point, but semantics. Keith asks, what is your favorite green space in Indianapolis? Or he said Marion County, that's not the Monon.
Okay. Probably my favorite green space. I'm trying to. I have it in my head. I'm just trying to think if anything's superseding it or coming to the top. But probably Fort Bend, because I try to go hiking at Fort Bend at least like once a week.
Really?
If I can, if it's not like raining all week. I mean, it's to the point where I like know the trails, because there's like the Showen Trail. There's the I always want to say Lewis and Clark Trail, but it's not the Lewis and Clark Trail, but it's like LC. I can't remember the name of it. And there's the Fall Creek Trail, the Camp Trail.
Is there something about it's Fort Benjamin Harrison, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Just making sure. I've never actually stepped foot in the bounds of that park.
Oh, it's awesome.
Is there something about it that particularly compels you?
Part of it is during COVID, it was the first, like, because it's technically it's a state park, and it was the first state park that my wife and I went hiking at during COVID. It was like, oh, I mean, I've always been, I like to camp and stuff, so I've always been like outdoorsy, but it was the first state park in Indy that we went hiking at, and it kind of had us fall in love with hiking. So it has that like connection for me, because now my wife and I, we've visited every single state park in Indiana except I think we have 2 left
That's an impressive stat.
that we haven't been to.
The only other person I know who visits that many state parks is my wife.
Yeah, we love going to state parks. Chelsea always gets really excited when we get our new park year pass, because it's always a different picture. She's So when I just bought it at Fort Bend like last week. And she was like, text me a picture. I want to see which park. And I don't even remember what park's on it.
Yeah.
But she's like, text me a picture of the card. But so anyway, I have that sort of like connection to it in that way. But also it's just a beautiful state park that's literally like 20 minutes from my house. You can also get to it the back way from the Fall Creek Trail. And so you could like ride your bike into it, or, walk into it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a kind of an unknown gem. I mean, I know people that have lived here their whole lives and never been there. I'm like, it's right there.
Yeah. I think the purple line on Indigo stops right in front of it. So
I think so, because it's like Post Road. If you take Pendleton and go north on Post goes right into it. But then the cross street, the east-west street, is 50. It's either 54th or 56.
Yeah.
One of those.
all right, outside of Fort Benjamin Harrison, since there's all but 2 you visited, what is the top tier state park? And my wife will fact check you.
Okay. For me, it depends. There's a lot of factors, but 2 that stand out for me is one, Prophetstown
Been there, I think.
is really cool because it's all prairie. So if you really love like bird watching, it's a great state park for bird watching.
Do you camp also?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think of my next top one that we've gone to. It's a toss up between Shades and McCormick's Creek.
I think I've been to McCormick Creek.
McCormick's Creek's the one that has like the wolf cave
Oh, that sounds cool.
in it, and one of the trails, like, actually you're like down in the like sort of waterway, like tripping over like rocks and stuff. And then Shades is really cool because it has the really crazy trails where you're like basically going up a ladder, and then there's a whole trail where you go basically hike like a riverbed. That's really cool.
Yeah. There's a park. Sorry. There's a park in Versailles, Indiana.
Yeah.
That my family, or my wife's family, likes to visit a lot.
We just visited that one like last year, I think, but I can't remember the name of it.
I also can't remember.
Because that'll be funny because Chelsea will be like, hey, which state park should we go to? And I was like, what's that one that had like the trail with the thing? And she's like, I don't remember which.
There's a small pond.
Yeah,
and
it's
geese.
like we can have all these like, I can like see all these parts, but like we forget the names all the time. Shakamak's also really cool.
Shakamak. Do you like Clifty Falls?
Yeah, Clifty Falls
That's
is
in
awesome.
southern Indiana, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Right on the border, and there's that huge coal power plant there. And then I can't remember the name of there's a small town that is like really cool because it's still like supported by a functioning like coal plant. that's not cool in of itself. Like I'm not pro coal, but it's like a little tiny mountain town that's like retained its sort of like vibrancy. It's unfortunate that it's because of the coal plant. I can't remember the name of the town, but it's right on the border. I can't remember if it's actually in Indiana or Kentucky, the small town. But maybe it's Madison.
Oh, yep.
And there's like this one burger joint in there that's been there since like 1928 or something. That's like really good, like little tiny burgers. But so anyway, if we go hiking at Clifty, we always go get burgers there.
See, it's funny to me that you were like, I don't know of Third Spaces right now, but you like go outside and you like go hang out.
Yeah,
with your...
yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for sharing. That was amazing. My wife will love to hear that you are a state park fan.
Cool.
Shout out state parks. Shout out to not DPW. What's the
DNR?
DNR.
I was like, I knew what you were talking about.
The DNR guys are always really helpful, especially when your neighbors are being annoying. You'd be like, "Hello, DNR, please help me."
Yeah. Whenever I'm camping, I was tip my hat when they do their little drive around.
You're like, "I have my pass. Please don't hurt me."
I hide my Coors.
Very common. All right. I don't have any. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
I don't think so. I think
Anything
we
on
covered
the mind, on the heart.
A lot. But that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one last question then. What question would you like to ask the next Third Space Indy guest? It can be about whatever you want.
Whatever you want. I'd say, what would be a cool? Does it have to be like?
No, I know what you're thinking.
It can be anything. Okay, I'd say, what would they think is the largest barrier for people to run or open a small business?
I think
in Indianapolis.
I think my next guest might be a politician. We'll see.
Oh, cool.
That's kind of funny. All right. Amazing. Well, thank you for joining me, Dominic.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
If you're interested in letting people know where to find you, which I'm sure you are, where can they find you?
Physically, I'm at 3125 East 10th, and love handle is 877 Mass Ave. Digitally, Cathead Press Indy on Instagram is the main place. Love handle Indy on Instagram.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of Third Space Indy. You can find me at Third Space Indy on Instagram or by going to thirdspaceindy.com. Thank you to cityrising.org for sponsoring the podcast. Also, I got a new sponsor who just wanted to be mentioned in the credits. I'm also sponsored by Proformis, which is a local urban planning studio. He hasn't given me my line yet to say, but I'm putting it in here anyways. Thanks, Jeffrey Tompkins, for sponsoring the podcast also. And thank you, as always, to the local artist Junison for allowing me to use your song, Scared Rabbit, as the intro song. That's it. Goodbye.
Awesome.
Scared rabbit, is the coast clear? Go grab it, you're gonna starve here. On your bed of death with one regret, what you never said.